Was HJR 192 repealed? An analysis of the facts by Kevin of the Family Hines. Was HJR 192 repealed? I can't even count the number of times I've had gullible sovereigns ask me this question. They have blindly believed this patriot mythology without thinking it through. That's the problem. Sovereigns who are too lazy to do any research or think through a rumor thoroughly before blindly believing anything they hear or read. Stop watching the NFL games on Sunday and start thinking things through. First of all, HJR 192 is the short name for House Joint Resolution 192. So let's understand what a resolution is. A New Year's resolution applies to you, the one who made it, not to your next door neighbor or anyone else. You're the one who resolved to lose weight or quit smoking or exercise more, and your neighbor is not obligated to do what you resolve for yourself. HJR 192 is strictly a resolution that applies only to the members of Congress who resolved it and to its subjects. It can be modified at any time by Congress if they so choose, just as you can modify your New Year's resolution if you so choose. However, modifying a public law is a little different matter. The law in this instance per the actual statutes at large books is identified at Chapter 4848 Stat 112. I went down to the SMU Law Library, found it, and photocopied it for myself. It contains the very same wording as HJR 192. However, one is a resolution and one is a public law. Kevin's rule number 4. Always do your own homework. Verify everything, discern fact from error, truth from lies. Never act based on someone else's claims. If I refer to HJR 182, am I not telling the listener or reader that I am a subject of Congress and that I am a citizen of the United States? Sorry, but that is the last thing I want to say. I can, however, say that the federal government has placed insufficient amounts of lawful money in general circulation, namely gold and silver coinage, thus forcing me to discharge my debts with commercial paper, namely putting them off to a future point in time and restricting my obligation as a sovereign to pay a debt. I refer to the federal government's obligation to me as Chapter 4848 Stat 112, not HJR 192. The federal government took away my ability to pay a debt with lawful money, but that doesn't make me a subject of Congress or of the federal government, and thus their resolution does not apply to me. However, their obligation to me under their public law does apply to me because there is insufficient lawful money in general circulation to meet the needs of the people, which includes me. When the federal government took much of our lawful money out of general circulation in 1933, namely gold coins, thus leaving an insufficient amount of lawful money in general circulation to meet the needs of the people, namely only silver coins remaining, the Congress was required to give the people a remedy. Public Law, Chapter 4848 Stat 112 is that remedy. It states that the federal government will pay my debts dollar for dollar. Note, it doesn't say that the government will pay for anything I desire to buy, like a car, only that it will pay my legitimate debts. Most, if not all, of the state constitutions require the state to pay its debts in gold and silver coin. By taking away a state's government's ability to comply with its constitutional mandate of paying its debts in gold and silver coin, the federal government involuntarily restricted a state government's ability to function in a de jure capacity. The de jure states went into suspension after the following 4 acts were committed. Number 1, the taking of gold coins out of general circulation in 1933. Number 2, in 1964, the U.S. Mint ceased minting any more silver coins. Number 3, in 1968, silver certificates could no longer be redeemed for silver. And number 4, on August 15, 1971, President Nixon closed the gold window, thus stopping the redemption of foreign-held dollars for gold. At that point in time, the U.S. dollar was backed solely by the full faith and credit of the American people, and the states could no longer function in a de jure capacity while in a state of suspension. The states went into suspension because the federal government involuntarily forced the state to pay its officers, judges, employees, etc. with something other than gold and silver coin, which was required by the state constitution. This something other than gold and silver coin was nothing more than fiat money, or scrip, backed by nothing but the labor of the people. Thus, constitutionally, the states could no longer function in a de jure capacity because it no longer had the ability to pay its debts in the form mandated by its constitution, namely, contract with the people. Since the federal government took away the gold coin money in 1933, thus causing the states to suspend operations by preventing them from honoring their obligation to pay their debts in gold and silver coin, then there had to be a remedy. Chapter 4848 Stat 112 is the remedy, not just for the states, but also for the sovereign men and women who created the states. Until gold and silver coinage is reinstated in sufficient quantities for general circulation, that remedy cannot be repealed. Congress may have repealed some parts of H.J.R. 192, or even all of it, because H.J.R. 192 is merely a resolution for Congress and its subjects. However, the true remedy is provided to the people by public law, Chapter 4848, Stat 112. Until the state governments come out of suspension by the federal government's placing sufficient quantities of lawful money into general circulation, your remedy, pursuant to Chapter 4848 Stat 112, cannot be repealed and will continue to be there. The remedy of the subjects/citizens found at H.J.R. 192 might not be there because their remedy is nothing but a resolution, but the remedy of the sovereign found at Public Law Chapter 4848 Stat 112 will still be there because a sovereign's remedy is public law. If, as many uninformed sovereigns claim, the promise that the federal government will pay your debts dollar for dollar is no longer valid, then these sovereigns have no basis for claiming their remedy by using the 1099 OID process for the refund of out-of-pocket funds expended to pay their debts. Either number one, you believe that the federal government repealed your remedy and therefore there is no 1099 OID refund process available to you, or number two, you believe the government has an obligation to pay your debts dollar for dollar, and therefore the 1099 OID process for a refund is your remedy, and you can use it to recover the funds you expended to take care of your debt obligations. You can't believe your remedy has been repealed and then try to claim your remedy by asking for a refund using the 1099 OID process. Now that you understand the difference between a resolution and a public law and why your remedy was given to you, you may recall how a well-known patriot attorney who specializes in tax matters has worked hard to intentionally mislead sovereign men and women into believing that their remedy has been repealed. Hogwash. He's talking about a subject's remedy by resolution, not a sovereign's remedy by public law. Please do your homework and think outside the box before disseminating patriot mythology to others, possibly causing them to stumble by your lack of research and knowledge. If you wish to continue arguing this ridiculous allegation without doing your homework, namely refusing to spend the time required in studying the monetary system in detail, please do so privately, not on any public forum, and as not to mislead others with such mythology. By Kevin of the family Hines, a sovereign man with a common law copyright of this, my private intellectual property.